How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massive Beer Reviews back with gear stuff. I don't do gear stuff all that often, about every year or two. I kind of break down how I make my beer reviews, both from a hardware standpoint and software and all that kind of fun stuff, because a lot of people ask, actually, fellow beer tubers, just people that watch the channel, just randomly be like, oh, what do you do here? How do you do that? All that kind of stuff, little kind of questions kind of pop up over time. So usually what I kind of do is explain the process, but there's a little bit of a twist on this one. We'll get to that in a second. So I have a bunch of hardware laid out in front of me. First and foremost, the most important part of hardware at the moment, and that could change, that's that other part we'll get to, is my iPhone. Honestly, you know, a camera, it should not be overlooked, but it's also not the most important thing if you have a couple things kind of covered, like lighting and things like that. But a decent camera is, you know, goes a long way to making decent looking videos. You know, my iPhone, I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max, so the bigger one, and it has a really good kind of a video camera on it. You know, I get up to, you know, 60 frames per second and 4K, which is what I shoot at, and it works for me. I know it's not the highest end camera. A lot of people use DSLRs, newer versions of DSLRs that are do like infinitely better, buttery smooth kind of video content, but I'm pretty much static for the most part, and it really does work for me. I've used an iPhone pretty much from the inception of the channel, and as you could, if you go watch the older videos, there's some external components, again, like I said, lighting, things like that have changed, but that's been pretty much the cusp of what I think is a decent level of video quality, which is kind of important to me. An AV nerd. I'm an audio video nerd. I have a home theater, I have a surround sound system, all that kind of stuff. I'm a tech junkie. That's why I have pretty much all the stuff that you're going to see in this video that I use for doing this, whether it be podcasts or the YouTube videos, the beer review videos, those kind of things. Half it is kind of for the channel, but half of it just because I have this itch I need to scratch. So I definitely laid out some dough here, but I laid out the dough because I love tech, and it's kind of the thing I dig. You don't have to do this, so we'll try to start kind of from the bare bones of what I think really just works when it comes to making a video, especially in a budget. You know, you go to a lot of media creators, content creators, and they'll say you have to get this Sony A5, blah, 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 you know, it's $1,000 camera, and you have to get this microphone, blah, 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 that's like a Shure SMB, blah, 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 whatever, that's, you know, another $400. You don't really need to do that. So, like I said, most important thing is smartphone. Let's put it that way. Not even just iPhone is a smartphone. That's probably, you know, square one. Everybody has one of those, usually a pretty decent one. So it's almost something that you don't have to buy because it's pretty much baked into what you're going to use anyway. So unless you're going to become like a super content creator on YouTube that's going to generate a ton of dough, BeerTube is not going to do that for you. Then, you know, your smartphone, if it's relatively new, is probably going to do that. Other hardware stuff. Second most important thing that I purchased that I didn't realize was that big of a deal until I bought it was lighting, man. I have a couple different lights working here. I have like a key light back up there, just a little light that shines behind you, just adds a little bit of depth. Look up 3-point lighting if you want to, and I'll kind of explain how lighting works. And I have two soft boxes on different elevations. I have one over here, one over here. I have this additional light right here that I've been using lately. It's more of like a pinpoint LED light. I have that more specifically for the live streaming portion of the show, but it just light fill. You don't want to have overabundance of light, but you need something decent. So, you know, my soft boxes to have up there, I bought on Amazon probably for $60-$70 with bulbs. This is several years ago, so I don't think that's a ton to shell out. It's probably, like I said, one of the more important things when it comes to kind of video clarity and those kind of things when it comes to recording videos. Lighting is the key. If you have a really good camera and poopy lighting, you know, you might end up with decent video, but if you have a halfway decent camera and decent lighting, it's going to show through quite a bit. Next up is mic. I have a couple different microphones. More often than not, I use this up here. You guys might see this thing kind of sneak in the camera every now and then. This is an MXL 770. It is a condenser microphone. And I picked that up probably less than a year ago. Man, that beer's really good. I'm drinking this. Wait for the review. That's fucking delicious. Summertime chuggers. Anyway, I picked this up less than a year ago. And honestly, it wasn't all that expensive. I think I paid less than $100 for it. Again, some people might scoff me like, "Oh, that's a lot of money," but for me, being an audio junkie, and since I do the podcast too, it just kind of made sense for me. And I have it kind of suspended from the ceiling here. I'll do a video, maybe some B-roll kind of stuff that I typically don't do, and show you my whole setup. And this is honestly, I just like the depth and character of the microphones, and that's the whole reason I purchased it. And it honestly made a couple of things kind of better for not just me, but a lot of people that view the channel, and that is my slurps and my sniffs. Before I use this, I actually use more often than not either a lavalier microphone. Those are the ones that you usually clip to your chest, kind of something small like that. Actually, I usually would hide it right inside my glasses here, so you wouldn't even notice it half the time. Or I'd use like a shotgun mic. The shotgun mic just didn't, I didn't like it. It caught too much noise from around the room, even though I do have the shotgun mic here, but that's more for mobile stuff. We'll go into that in a bit. In the lavalier mic actually sounded quite nice, but anytime I did any kind of, smelling beers, swallowing, sips, things like that, it was really, really loud. Not that you don't get those things with the condenser microphone, but it tends to be a little bit better, not nearly as sensitive to that, especially when I keep it to the distance I have here, which is about 10 inches or something like that. So it ends up being quite a bit better. So you don't have to do that. Like I said, if you don't, your microphone and your phone is fine, but typically they're kind of poopy. Lavalier microphones, I forget where I put them all. I have like 19 billion of them. And there's one right there. Yeah, this is this is actually the one I was using most of the time. This is a Panda Lavalier mic. That I think I purchased for $20, but you can find them on eBay for like $10, and they're just fine. And that's probably I guess I would say the three biggest things is there. Your phone camera, which is you should always pretty much already have, lighting and mic. That'll get you 90% of the way there as far as shooting videos. And after that, it kind of comes down to personal preference, but it also comes down to, what you want to get out of it, what you want to put into it, and what you want to get out of it. So as far as other physical hardware goes, tripods, that's kind of a given. You need something like that. I have a base tripod. It never moves. It's here. This is the one I use for all my video recording. It's going to change it a little bit. We'll get to that again in a second. And, a little, whether it be your phone or even a regular camera, something to attach it to the tripod. Obviously, stuff like that I don't even want to mention. Mobile stuff is kind of important because I like to do beer reviews out and about too, not necessarily in this room where everything's static, but also like out on my farm or whether I'm at a brewery or something like that. And that's where like a lot of these gadgets are going on. Super cheap tripods like this, you can get them wherever. I could probably get this for $5. You attach your little phone thing on there, blah blah blah, you're good to go. This setup has served me well for many years. Basic, simple, to the point. It moves enough to where I can get where I want to go. Again, like I said, have served me for many years. I kind of stepped it up a bit. I ended up getting myself a gimbal not too long ago, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to use it as much as I do. For those that don't know, I don't have a camera or phone to put in here, but a gimbal is a stabilization device. It's basically a tripod, but this mechanism up here holds your phone, and basically you can run around and do stuff, and this camera stays pretty still. The reason why I like this for a couple different reasons, especially on the road and moving around and doing things, is not just the gimbal portion. It's if you've ever seen those really smooth shots where people have like, they're passing by a product and you're like, there's no shake whatsoever, that they're using a gimbal is what they're doing. Basically, it keeps the phone from shaking at all and also keeps it level. This is kind of my favorite thing when it comes to doing outdoor reviews now, because I can take this, I can put this down, and it has a remote control to where I can pan and tilt the camera, and it makes it so much easier for me to kind of randomly walk anywhere and plop down and actually do a beer review. Again, we're getting kind of higher end stuff, a little bit more expensive, but it's kind of those gadgets that I kind of dig on. One of the things that I use, I got this little extension here for my iPhone. iPhones suck when it comes to this little lightning connector, so we have to do a couple different things when it comes to actually like mounting another microphone to this, because that's the other thing. If you're out and about, typically your microphone in your actual phone is not going to be the best. So I have this Shure MV88, I think it is. Yeah, MV88. It's a little shotgun mic. This thing is built like a tank. I had a different mic. It was what the hell company was it? Well, this one's Shure. I forget what the Zoom. It was a Zoom mic, which I enjoy Zoom products. And but this one built like a tank, works on everything iPhone wise. I think they make a comparable thing for non-iPhones. And that's pretty much all I do with this thing is just connect it here, connect to my phone. You can see there's this sticky Velcro and stuff like that. Look, I'll just attach it to my gimbal here and then just use that as the microphone on it. An external mic is, like I said, outside of your camera and lighting, external mic's probably the most important thing. If you're shooting outdoors, external light's usually not a big deal because sunlight's always going to be your best bet. Like I said, chances are smartphone, you already have one of those, so that's not a big deal. It really does come down to the mic. So whether you have an iPhone or something like that, even a lavalier mic will be fine because I could attach that to this and attach it to my whatever. But I always like these shotgun mics, even though I don't like them indoors. Like I said, I use this condenser microphone, but outdoors, especially stuff like this that not just works through an audio jack, like since it is lightning based, and I'm sure there's USB-C ones, this I can actually, record in a couple different ways. I could do increase the range, I can record side by side, I can record shotgun, I can adjust and compress and do all those kind of things. So this is, I think I paid less than right around $100 for this. Again, some people scoff at that. I have not a big deal with that. Windscreens. From some of you might know, if you watch my outdoor reviews, there was a couple there where the wind got really kicking. It's because all they had was on this. This is a pop filter. It's not a windscreen. So I went out and just purchased one of these. It's like you get 2 for $10 and just sock it on there. It's a windsock. And if you do outdoor reviews, these things, or outdoor videos in general, these things are pretty much a godsend. Once I strap that sucker on there, wind's pretty much nil at that point. And the last bit of kind of mechanical hardware. These things are the best things ever invented in the history of mankind. This is a small rig clamp. I love these. I have several of these. I have this. I got really tiny one. Where did I put them? That little itty bitty one. I got like a little itty bitty one right here that attaches to a clamp too. And these things are the best because you could pretty much, if you're like me, you're out and about, whether it be just filming videos, let's say you're at a brewery, or let's say I'm doing a podcast, or I'm even out in my yard now, and I've been using this so much lately because I got a beefier one. This is a tripod, but this thing comes right off, and I can attach this thing to this, or any phone mount. It doesn't have to be a gimbal or anything like that. Once you actually get it taken, and you just attach it anywhere, and it's been the best thing I've bought. Like, honestly, like I could take this and I could screw this clamp, it's just a base clamp. I could attach it to a fence post, bang, doom, done. Use this, start and record a video. This thing, $10 for this little clamp here, and it's fully actuating. Like you loosen this up here, and you could do it anyway. So you could basically clamp it on, go like this, get it wherever you want it to be, get your angle right, boom, 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 done. So even if you didn't have a gimbal, this will give you the kind of movement you need to kind of get the camera right. It's probably by far and away like the most utilized thing that I use out of my whole setup, especially when I'm out and about and doing kind of videos on the run and stuff like that. That thing is worth its weight in gold. So yeah, that's the physical hardware stuff. Like I said, besides the iPhone, which is kind of recording right now, so you guys can't see that. The next piece of hardware is actually, again, this is how much you want to put into it, is editing. You can edit completely on your smartphone, especially if you're not trying to do too extensive of a video. Like, I don't do much. I cut the beginning, cut the end, tweak the volume, maybe tweak a little bit of lighting and stuff like that. Done and done. I typically do that on my computer. I have 2 computers. Both of them are pretty robust. The computer I sit next to here when I do live streams and stuff like that is my old gaming computer. It's an old i7 2600K. Has a decent video card in it, 1070. And it gobbles up some media pretty well. If I shoot in 4K and I do a 10-minute video, it still takes a while for it to export and do all kinds of stuff in a video. Some are pushing maybe an hour if I'm doing 60K at 60 frames per second at 4K. I recently built a gaming computer. It's about a year old. It's a Ryzen 3900X, which is 12 core, 24 thread CPU, and a 2080 Super. And that thing is an absolute monster when it comes to editing anything. The same video that would take an hour on this computer takes 15 minutes on that computer. And, and I run Premiere Pro, which is a video editing software by Adobe. It is robust, is one way to put it. There's a couple big video editing software programs out there. Final Cut Pro is one of them. Premiere Pro is pretty much the bigger one. Not bigger, but just same parts like Pepsi and Coke. And it's like, when the BBC makes like Planet Earth, the documentary, they're using like Premiere Pro. So there's so much depth and so much you could do with that. It costs a bit, monthly service, yada, yada, yada. But I've used it for several years, not just for my personal use here on the YouTube channel, but also professionally, editing some commercials and stuff like that for my jobs. And I'm super familiar with it. But lately, there's been a little bit of, I don't know if it's morbid curiosity or just kind of, not frustration, but I find myself not sitting in front of that computer all that often. My main computers are hooked up to my home theater, so if I'm going to edit on it, more often than not, I'm finding myself editing on my projector screen, which is fine. It's just not the best place to work. So I'm either remotely accessing that computer via the computer here, which is fine. Again, there's some lag and a little bit of nuance that is annoying. And it's fine, but I've been wanting and yearning for like an all-in-one kind of setup. And that's where this kind of shifts. So all the things I just basically told you, my iPhone, using this microphone a lot. I'll still use this stuff when I'm out and about because I won't be using my iPad. I think I'm going to convert everything I'm doing to my iPad. The reason why I say that is because I bought an iPad Pro about a year ago. And that'd be this sucker here. And I love this thing. Like, I love iPads, but I never had an iPad Pro. And everything I've done with this thing has been fantastic. The only thing I've really kind of struggled with this has been, I wouldn't say struggled, but video editing hasn't been the best when it comes to this. Only because, to be perfectly honest with you, a lot of lack of familiarity when it comes to using the programs that you typically find on the iPad, which would be your LumaFusion. That and storage. So this is a 256 gigabyte iPad for storage wise, and it's a 2018 version. And the camera on this is kind of like meh. It's okay. It's not as good as my iPhone, but it's okay. It is what it is. So, I can't really store my videos on here because you're talking about most of the videos I record, they end up being about 5 to 10 gigabytes piece. And at any given time, I could have upwards of, 20, 30, 40 videos, and that just gobbles up space way too quick. So 256 gigabytes goes by the wayside very, very quickly. So I've used this sparingly when it comes to actually the workflow and the process in which I actually do videos and things like that. But I've grown more and more enamored with the kind of simplicity of having something all in one, because basically what I've been doing at this point now is been using my iPad, remoting into my other computer and editing on my iPad, whether it be just finger touches or using the Apple Pencil. It's a little bit more precise when I'm sitting there and using kind of Premiere Pro. So, I kind of wanted like an all-in-one kind of inclusive kind of thing, which means I'm selling my iPad. I am selling my iPad because I just purchased an iPad. I bought a new iPad Pro. I bought the newest one that just came out, which came out today. Hence the reason why I'm doing this video. I got this nice keyboard. It's more of a laptop. You have this. Let me see if I can get this back on there. Give you the old top-down view on this one so you guys see what I can be doing here. But, with this trackpad, how everything works on this thing, this case, the raw firepower this thing actually has, I'm going to test this out and actually see if this gives me what I really need as an all-in-one kind of video editing content, because that's kind of what a lot of people do in our iPad Pros. You know, they use them for video editing, photo editing, things like that. It's not necessarily more of like a commercial productive kind of thing. It's more, well, those people doing commercial things, but it's more like graphic design, drawing, editing, things like that. And I do graphic design for my company, so it actually works in that sense too. And that's kind of the reason why I made this video. I wanted to do an updated kind of thing about me, kind of talking about all this tech and what I'm using and why I'm using what I'm using and whatnot. But I kind of want to do a journey with me kind of learning LumaFusion, because I believe a lot of people have iPads and iOS systems, and see if maybe, you know, I could do a little tutorial on how to use that from a beer reviewer standpoint. There's probably way better people kind of talking about how they use the software side of things. But I'm curious. I want to see if this actually works as my all-in-one inclusive setup. We'll see what's what, because that's kind of where I want to go with this now. If I could film with this, we'll see how the camera works on this one. Film with this, edit, post with this. I think I'm a happy camper. I still have my computers and still mess with those, but you know, sometimes when I'm out and about, a lot of times I post beer reviews. I'm like, oh, I forgot to edit a video and post it. I have to remote in, go over here. Sometimes the remote isn't all that well, and it's kind of herky-jerky and doing all the kind of things. My iPad's on me at all times. I have a satchel. It's in there. It rides with me and dies with me. So I'm kind of curious to see if this can foot that bill. I know a lot of people use it for that reason. The biggest thing I believe is the video recording portion of the show here. I don't know how well that is going to function on this, because I've literally just unboxed this, so I haven't actually used it yet. So we'll see what's what. So there you go. Put a little bit of B-roll in here with a little bit of scrolling shots so you guys can see. I'll take a couple of videos of my lighting and my setup, and maybe put in a little bit of my Premiere Pro editing and stuff like that, just so you guys know what you're doing. But the thing about this is, and like I said, I'm doing this specifically, one, because I just purchased this, but leading up to this, I had 2 breweries and 3 people ask me questions about the setup. I did a video a couple years ago. It was long overdue for me to do another video. But it's not so much to me like flexing, like I got an iPad Pro and I got this gimbal and whatever. It's what you can do and what you can do with it. I barely scratched the surface when it comes to Premiere Pro or using certain things. But if you're a tech gadget, like a gadget nerd, tech nerd like me, and you like using stuff and having fun with it, it's kind of a cool hobby. But I want to stress, it can absolutely be done on a budget too. Like your phone, a couple lights, which you can get probably for less than $50. A lavalier mic you can get for $10 to $20. You're off to the races, you know. I'm trying to think of anything specific. Probably the best thing, and I know this is a very tall order for a lot of people, one of the most interesting shifts I did was a dedicated space. I know that's tall order for a lot of people. But if you like want to do any kind of videos, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have a dedicated space, it makes it infinitely, and I mean infinitely, easier to make things. You know, if people always ask how I do so many beer reviews, it's because I have the space. This is really going to become Micah's room when he gets old enough, so I will now have to find a different dedicated space. But it makes all the difference in the world. Just because, you know, if I grab a beer and I'm going to go, I'll have this beer. I'm like, you know what? I'll review it. I walk in here. I set everything up. My setup time takes probably, I would say, I don't know, 3 minutes maybe. And I hit record, boom, beer, done, out. So, you know, if a video takes 8 minutes, set up 3, I have 11 minutes, I can do a beer review. So that's pretty one of the more important things. Now, just to kind of bring this full circle, because I do a lot of streaming also, and I also do the podcast. So you'll get little like scrolling shots of these, because since they're actually being worked right now. Like I said, I talked about my microphone. I have this beautiful mount from the ceiling. My Zoom Z6H6, I always forget the name of it, which is basically a portable recorder. Is, again, they just came out with the new series line. I think it's the H8 or something like that, or H7, I forget what it is, H8 I believe it is. It's awesome. It's probably, I bought it for the podcast, but I use it a lot for live streams. I use it a lot for all podcasting. And what it is basically a mini multi-track recorder that actually is battery powered, both batteries, and you can actually run it off a USB power source. And it has, you know, up to 6 XLR inputs with the little fancy cables that go into kind of real microphones. It has phantom power, which means, you know, if you have a microphone like this, it actually needs juice to run. It can actually push juice to it. Multiple channels, like I said, runs off either batteries or a secondary pack. But one of the cooler things about it, and I actually did not know this when I purchased it, so I just kind of stumbled upon it, is that it actually acts as an audio interface for me too. So whether you have Windows or a Mac, or even an iPad, believe it or not, I connect this and it acts as an audio input. So, you know, when I'm recording this to you guys on my camera, it goes through here into my H6 and then into my iPhone. When I'm actually doing a podcast or I'm doing a live stream, it goes from here to the Zoom into my computer into a multi-track digital recorder. So it acts as like a jack of all trades when it comes to audio recording. Built like a tank. The older version's absolutely fantastic. You don't need anything better. It has all these options that work really well if you do all kinds of audio recording and things like that. So that's one of the other big ones. And last but not least is my live stream stuff. I've struggled with that for a while because I have poopy internet and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I just ended up purchasing as a GoPro. I'm sure even some of you probably have a GoPro lying around. Whenever you see me doing a live stream, that's just basically me using my GoPro into a USB to HDMI converter into my live streams. My video on live stream isn't that great. It's more of my internet connection than the actual GoPro itself. But the GoPro works really well and fits a couple needs for me. More specifically, and one, I can actually use it outside of the live streams and more for family functioning stuff. I can strap it to my chest if I'm hanging out with the kid, if I'm going out, you know, hiking or doing all that kind of stuff. It's much better, much more don't think about it kind of thing when it comes to recording. And the other one is I get to strap it to the back of Taco, and then Taco gets to run around like a maniac. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you have any reason out there to go buy a GoPro, the number one reason is to strap it to your dog, to be perfectly honest with you. Because it is effing hilarious. So if you have one, I went and bought this harness, this harness pack, which came all these like adapters and stuff like that. It was like $18, and whenever I'm bored, I just strap my GoPro to Taco, and I throw balls around, and he's a maniac. And it's the best thing ever. The next one is I'm actually going to buy an RC car and attach it to that and then let Taco chase the RC car. That's the next thing in the books. But that's my whole setup now. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. Dual monitor, little jammer here. You know, lights everywhere. My room's a mess. But there you go. So, yeah. You can put into this as much as you want. You know, be as simple as possible. Your, smartphone. Get some kind of microphone, whether it be a shotgun, lavalier, doesn't matter. And then invest $50, $20 or $50, $60 into some lighting, some couple, cheap soft boxes, and you're off to the races. You can edit everything on your phone. And last but not least, and I actually almost forgot this, I would say this is, for me personally, one of the most heavily used things that I've ever purchased is the Filmic app. It's an app called Filmic, Filmic, Filmic recording app. It's a video recording app, and that, I think it's $10. And even if it's $20, it doesn't matter. It is by far and away the best thing I ever spent money on, app-wise, without a doubt. And I know that it's both on Android and on iOS, and it's basically a video recording app. But it does everything you could possibly imagine. You could do it as simple as point and shoot, but you could also lock focus, or you could lock color balance, which is a huge thing when recording video. I know iPhone you could do that, and the stock app on Android you can do that, but this one's a little bit more precise. It's a different kind of reticle setup system. and just ends up being probably it's much more. You can shoot in, depending on what phone you have, you could shoot HDR, you could shoot in log, which is if you look in color mapping, color tonal mapping and stuff like that, you can shoot in that. You can do like beyond typically what your phone allows you to do as far as bit rate and things like that. There's actually an HDMI out, raw out, so you can actually use your phone as a webcam and get a really high quality webcam. There's a lot of things you do with it, so that's one that I can't believe I almost forgot, but at least I figured it out towards the end. And there you go. So yeah, a little bit of tech talk, a little bit of what I typically do here when it comes to what I use and how I use it in the old YouTubes and podcasting and live streams and stuff like that. And like I said, I will try to compile a little bit of a list of what I use, put it into the description below. It might take a day or two for me to compile that all together, and just let you guys kind of get an idea of what I put into it. Like I said, you can get as basic as your phone, a lavalier mic, and some lighting. Hit yourself if you don't count your phone. You're looking at well below $100, and you probably end up with something quite nice. But if you want to fiddle around and spend some money, maybe a little bit too much money, and without a doubt way too much money, you can have fun with it. So there you go, a little bit of my current setup and how I use it kind of video. So I will follow up with this with maybe what I do editing wise. That might change a little bit. I might sneak in a little bit of Premiere Pro into that video and then see how my transition to LumaFusion is going. I might actually start adding an intro and an outro to my videos. Nothing long-winded, very quick. Something a la, Joe from Joe's Arcade or the guys from Nerd Sense, just something in the beginning and end, just because I want to start flexing a little bit more of my kind of creative muscles, not necessarily for the channel, but just in general, working on some more 3D animation stuff that I haven't touched in a while. All the stuff I've been doing 3D-wise has been like static CAD design and stuff like that, so we'll see what's what. So you definitely got a follow-up video here, what I'll be doing in my journey and kind of trying to convert this all to an all-in-one kind of system when it comes to using this iPad. Follow up with maybe a little more kind of walk around the stuff that I do to make this whole work. I don't know. I just had an idea in my head, got a new toy, wanted to talk about it. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this not so short video of me kind of talking about how I make things work and what I use to do my videos. So if you have any questions, shoot them in the description or shoot me an email directly, matt@massivebeers.com. Like I said, I'll probably shoot all these with links down below as far as the products that I use, and hopefully this helped you guys in some form or fashion. Hopefully you're enjoying some good beer right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers.